Hi, in last week's film I was taking my 150 to 400mm lens down to Luton to get it repaired. Well, I've got it back. Here it is. I've just put the neoprene cover back on. It cost me £180. It took them 10 days to do it. It didn't need any spare parts. It was the roller bearings in the tripod foot mount that had dislodged and got jammed. How that happened, I don't know. I hadn't dropped the lens. It was working fine when I last used it and put it in the camera bag. When I took it out of the camera bag, it jammed up. It must have had a knock somewhere along the line. But I've got it back and I'm now looking for the next subject to photograph. I like the look of that blue hut. And the starlings on the roof. I bet they're nesting there. Let's pull up and have a look. It doesn't look as if the hut is in use, so I'm not going to be disturbing anybody, and it's very early in the morning too. I'm going to start off standing behind the car, using the car as a sort of blind. If the birds can't see much of you, they're going to be less perturbed by you. It turns out they're not shy at all. I can get as close as I want to them. I don't have to stand behind the car. The light is improving, but you know, this will be really good for flight photography a bit later on. When they're feeding young on the nest, then they'll be coming backwards and forwards to this hut every couple of minutes. And just over to my right, there's like a lawn area. That's most likely where they'll be feeding. They'll come down onto that grass, feed, and fly back to this hut. And it'll be a wonderful flight shot as they come up to that corner of the hut. But currently, it's not food they're bringing in, but nest material. And they're really having a struggle to collect it. He's being very fussy about the pieces he wants, and then when he gets up to the gutter, it just disposes of them, picks them up again and drops them again. And one more time. No, definitely doesn't like that one. Perhaps the starling is generally thought of as quite a dull looking bird, but when the light catches that metallic sheen in the feathers, they're actually quite attractive. Now trying a piece of paper instead of vegetation. I don't think the problem was that it didn't fit, it just changed its mind again. I really want this bird to sing, and not just to sing, but to flap its wings, which is a very typical starling thing to do. Start to sing a little bit. And just a couple of stills pictures. Here's the flapping of the wings. That's more like it. Not the most attractive song perhaps, but somebody's impressed by it. And another go at collecting some nesting material. The best of the wing flapping I had while it was singing was on this rather ugly fence. And they also sing quite frequently on the ground. Now I've got the camera on the tripod here, so I'm looking down at the bird, and that is something I never like. I always want to be at the same level as my subject. So I got down low, and that looks a much better picture from that angle. And as well as being on the gravel, it went onto the grass and sang from there. And I kind of like these shots where I could only see the top part of the bird sticking above the grass. And the best shot is going to be the one with the bill wide open. And just to prove that I can still get up off the ground just as easily as I've ever been able to do. Unfortunately the floor is a bit dirty, so I'm now covered in dust on my trousers and my coat, but that was worth it. That was the best picture of the morning so far. I used to keep a camping mat in the back of the car all the time, just for this sort of thing, to lie down on the floor. But since the car was stolen last October, I'm keeping less in the car than I used to, and that's a pity, because you can have all the gear, but you've got to have it here. So far this morning I'm using the OM-1 Mk2. I'm doing more video now with this camera than I did with the Mk1 because the autofocus has improved for video. So I'm less inclined to put the Lumix G9 Mk2 on, which is what I used to use nearly all the time for video. So it's saving me a lot of messing about, swapping from one to the other. The only time I really need that Lumix now is for action, when the birds are really moving around quite fast, because the autofocus is better in video mode than this one, but not by a huge amount, and also for the 120 frames per second 4K, which the OM camera doesn't have. On this side of the hut there's 3 holes and the house sparrows are nesting in there. Photographically I really like it, that deep blue colour, and we're on the east side of the hut as well, so it's being lit on this side. It's very, very photogenic. From a composition point of view, you take this picture every way you can. You want the bird off to the left, in the centre, to the right, then you want verticals with the bird at the top of the picture and then at the bottom of the picture. You always want to be as comprehensive as possible, or at least I did when I was making a living from my photography, because whichever way you didn't take it was the way that somebody wanted it. And just one shot on top of a inset nest box, and thanks for watching.